the reason I like adding in new stuff to games, I guess in general, is just I like having more options, I guess. And there are a number of heads in the game, but I wanted specific like heads, ones you could point out in a crowd. Um, so that's the reason I started doing this, and then it kind of got a little carried away, got a little out of hand. And so I've added some historically accurate stuff to the game so far. But this is mostly thanks to originally Wangren on Total War Center because of his patience with me when I was starting this out a couple years ago. And then I stopped doing it because real life got in the way. Um, and then a couple years later, in 2015, I found this guy Warman, I think was his name, Warman222, who did a tutorial for Rome 2 on how to on how to get these custom-made models into Rome 2, and that was very useful. I used it to get Hitler's head into Rome 2 as a general. It was great fun, and I even got his jaw and mouth working too. However, the inside of his mouth was hard to access, so I didn't even really bother. So every time he opened his mouth, it was like this fleshy, it's just creepy. Um, but I mean, I've been helped through this with a lot of people, and I'll put links in to the various threads throughout the years that I've used. Not very many, but enough. And so a couple days ago, I finally decided, you know what, I want to do this again. I didn't succeed the first time, so I want to try again. I want to make it work this time. And so here I am. Okay, so I'm going to show how to essentially put new models into Shogun 2. This is something that I haven't really seen people do. I mean, I've seen some people on the Steam Workshop do it, but in terms of understanding how to do it, it can be daunting. But it's actually not that difficult, and I'm going to show how. As long as you have the tools necessary, you can do it. And all of these things are necessary. So you don't need XNA Laura. However, XNA Laura is helpful, very helpful actually. What you will need is 3ds Max 2009 or 2010, because that's how you get the models into the game. That's what the extractor, the extractor included in the assembly kit uses. So hold on, let me go and show you. Max Explorer, Max Exporter, man. So it's only these two. That's all you have. 2009 or 2010. So you take this, you put it in your plugins folder right here, and then 3ds Max will be able to export to the file that then Bob here can read. So I'm going to essentially show you how I do this. This is the assembly kit. You can just get it from the tools. Just go down to this one and install it. And yeah, that'll be easy. So anywho, this is, if you go into raw data, art, battle, land, models, soldiers, variant models, unit parts, Japan, you'll see these options. This won't be there. Each of these contains this, like arm will only contain this: strip armor arm. It'll have text, strip armor arm CS2, and strip armor arm.max. This, for some reason, I don't know why they did it this way, but this is a 2013 3ds Max file. So 2012, but 2013. In order to open it, you need 2013 of 3ds Max, which I had the hardest time finding, because I already had 2010, and then I had a later version, but you can only, so, here, I'll just open it for you. So, I had to find a trial version, which was not easy. If I can find it again, I'll put a link to where I got it in the description, because you can't even get this on the official website anymore. It only has up to, I think, 2015 is the earliest one you can get on the Autodesk website. So luckily, I just happened to come across this one forum where somebody had an installer for 2013. So anyway, while we wait for this to load, and there we go. So you'll see this when you load it up. It'll show the main thing and then the LODs. So you'll see these lower resolution things underneath. Anyway, so what you want to do is in 2013 go to File, Save As, and then save it as a max2010.max file, which is essentially what I've done here. So I made 2010 versions of a lot of these. This is from... There was another guy who uploaded the equipment file a while back. This I made myself, but there was another guy who uploaded the equipment file on the Total War Center a while back. You can probably still find it there. I don't know if I'm allowed to give these away, but I'm thinking if I can, I guess I could just put this up for download, the 2010 version, so that you don't have to go out searching for the 2013 version of Max. But I don't know the legality of that, so I'll have to look into it. But so yeah, so the way I start is I tend to start with, this is my Shogun 2 data folder, by the way. So get the pack file manager. You need that. I can provide a link to it. You'll need the pack file manager. You'll also need, as I said, 3ds Max 10. And a good thing to have is XNA LoRa, because XPS specifically, because it allows you to not only, well, view the model that you want to put in, but allows you to hide specific parts of the model and then export only the specific parts that you want as an OBJ, which is perfect because OBJs don't contain bones. So I'll show you how to do that. We're gonna build one right now. And the model that I'm going to select is Hope, Adult Hope, since Child Hope was the first one I did. So yeah. You can get these models from, really, you don't need specifically OBJ, just anything that you can open in 3ds Max. Preferably something that already has textures, and preferably something that doesn't have bones already in it. I mean, you could just delete the bones that are there and attach them to the bones of the Shogun 2 skeleton. But it's easier if you don't have to deal with it. So, anyway, these type of models you can typically get on like DeviantArt, or I think there's like an XNA LoRa forum somewhere. But this I got from, you just search basically XNA customized, XNA LoRa customized on DeviantArt, and you get a huge plethora of models you can look through. Anyway, what we're going to do first, this is a personal, also I always keep backface culling on and always force culling on because Shogun 2 has backface culling. So you get a good look of how it's going to appear. For like, there isn't much on Hope here except maybe the back of his hair is invisible from certain angles because of that. But it doesn't matter because we're going to be taking the hair off anyway because there's no transparency in Shogun 2. So the hair won't look like this. It'll look like flat pieces of paper with hair hair painted on it. And I've done that with another. I'll show you that later. But I found a way kind of around it. Anyway, just for my own sanity, I'm going to turn off the shadows. Okay, so go to Make Items Optional. And sometimes some models will be split into so many different pieces, it'll be aggravating. But what I'm going to do is basically hide every layer that is not what I want to take. So everything except the eyes and the face. And no. So there we go. And now, this version of XNA LoRa has, like version 11.8, has something where if you export the scene as an OBJ without moving the textures first, the textures will not be on the model automatically when you open it up in 3ds Max. So what I do is just data, the lightning. Those are all the lightning costumes. Well, best time. I'm just gonna take the ones that I need. Face spec. Alright. And that's fine now. I'm going to take it to, what I've been doing is mod backups, Shogun 2, 3D model mods. Then I have OBJs and works in progress. So my OBJs file are where I'm going to put this. So people, hope 13.2, and then just paste it in. All the textures are going to be, I don't know why this is, even if you just have one of these textures in there, all of them will be on the model when you open it up in 3ds Max later. If you don't have any textures in there, none of them are on it. I don't know why, but that's just how it works for me. First, I'm also going to make a Hope FFX13.2 file or folder here, and then a text folder. I'm also going to move these two in there, because what we're going to do is combine the textures on his eyes and face into just one texture, because Shogun 2 only has one texture per model. Well, technically 4, but one texture map per model. And these are already in TGA format, that's good. Texture diffuse. You need these exactly the way I have them written, or else Bob won't read them. Texture level. Also, level never transfers over for me. I don't know why. It just doesn't. Texture gloss. Floss. And then I'll get the normal map in a second. Where'd he go? There he is. Anyway, so now that that's done, let's export the scene to an OBJ to this folder, the one in my thing here. I know I'm being very specific. Adult Hope. Just name it whatever. Something that you'll remember. There we go. There's a face normal map, which I'll have to turn into a TGA. Oops. If that sound gets too annoying for you, suck it up. Suck it up, Nancy. With and turn it into a TGA. Name it texture normal. And compress it, 24-bit, sure. And there we go. Now, go into any one of these, it doesn't matter except for the equipment, but any one of the body ones because they all have the same skeleton, but since we're doing a head, might as well go with a head. And Noble Head 2010 version, because this is the normal head, or Noble Head. So my 2010 version, just copy that over, rename it to, I don't know, Adult Hope. Sure. And then just open that up in 2010. Oops. Click on it until you see LOD1, and then just hide everything else. Whoa. Oh, my recording software does not like right-clicking. Hide unselected. You just have to hide unselected. That's also, I like turning off those lines, the grid. I'm not a fan of that. Now, go ahead and import the yeah, there we go. Hope 2, import that, and yeah, that's fine. All the default stuff is fine. Now, enlargen it. Include increase ensues. That might be a bit large. Yeah, that's a bit large. These two buttons, by the way, that's select uniform scale, and that's select and move. Also, I'm going to go ahead and unclick and then Control Z so that it swivels around the head. Whatever you click on causes the camera to swivel around it. And since his eyes are inside the other guy's head, it's very difficult to select them again by hand. So if you just click off of it, just Control Z to reselect it. Anyway, now I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. This can, since I'm talking you through it, I guess, it'll take me a little bit longer to do this, but this can take you like 30 minutes tops to do, so it's very easy to get models into Shogun 2, and it's already centered. That's nice. Alright, cool. Which, by the way, the textures are already on it. Thank goodness. I'm going to go ahead and switch to flat, because I prefer that. And unhide all, which will also show the bones. Then you just go ahead and delete the model, the head of the samurai head model, the noble head model, the original model, whatever was here originally, delete it. And all you're left with is him. Now, I'm only going to show you how to rig it up with the head and the neck. You can rig up the jaw, and I've done that before with Rome 2. But you can rig up the eyebrows, you can rig up the mouth, but it's not necessary. I'm not even going to be really, like, looking at him up close too much, I guess. But you can get really detailed with it if you want to. So, I'm going to go ahead and, which one? This one is his head, clearly. Alright. So, go down, by the way, this is the material editor. Click on that to bring up this. This is for the eye, this is for the head. It'll be different based on what model you have. And if you want to just find out what it is, just click the wire button. Whatever turns into a wire, that's what that texture has selected. And if nothing's selected, you can just drag and drop and see now it's no longer that, now it's this guy. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on that. So, go on to maps and just get rid of these, because these are worthless. You need it in TGA format. So go to bitmap, and that's what I did last time. OBJs, people. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted works in progress. Text, and there we go. And this button right here causes it to be activated. Show standard map in viewport, which is this. This is the viewport. I'm a beginner at all this, so my terminology is not exactly great. Now, specular level is the texture level, which never shows up for me for some reason. This takes you back to the top, or you can just click on this. For example, I'll show you in a second. Gloss is that one. So you can either click this in order to go back, or just click this one to go back up to this screen. And then the last one we need is bump map, which is the normal. And there we go. So that's part one down. So these 4 textures are all you'll need, because these are the only textures that Bob will read and Shogun 2 will get. However, the level texture for me, again, does not show up, no matter what I do. However, if you don't have a level texture there, it doesn't like it. So I put it there anyway, even though it doesn't end up in the final stuff. It's not exactly necessary, and things can look fantastic without it, so that's fine. Anyway, this can be closed out now. What we're going to do is combine the face and the eyes together, because as it stands, they're 2 separate models, with 2 separate textures, which Shogun 2 does not like. It will not read. And it took me forever to figure out how to combine textures together. I finally found a tutorial, which is not exactly what I had to do. It was close, but I had to change it around a little bit. I had to mix and match to get it right. So I'm going to show you exactly what it is. Also, he has moles, which means the textures are going to be kind of... I'll show you that when I get to it. Okay. So go ahead and click on his head. Go up here to the Modify tab. And then on the... Also, if he has more body parts that you don't want him to have, you can just click over here on one of these and then just select and delete it. But I'm not going to, because XNA Laura had it exactly as I wanted it. So that's good. Another reason to use XNA Laura. Anyway. So what we're going to do is attach. So whatever I click on after this will attach to this model. So I'm going to click on his eyes, and match material ID to material. That way he'll use his original material, even though it is the... Select that again to deactivate it. Even though it is the now part of the same model, if you look up here, Adult Hope LOD1, that's kind of important, but I was going to mention it later. If you look up here, no matter what I click on, it all says Adult Hope LOD1. So it's all part of the same model, but it still uses the other texture. Now I have to make sure that both the textures are on the same texture map, so that Shogun 2's engine can read it. So what we're going to do is click on this again, go down here to unwrapUV. Oh yeah, there are his moles. And then do it again. So we'll have two different unwrapUV layers, or options, I guess. I click on face, but you don't... I mean, I don't really mess with this. You can if you want to. I don't know what any of it does. So, I kind of know what that does, but I'm not going to bother. The top one, you can put it to channel 2, or whatever you want, but no, actually keep me on this. But it doesn't matter. Typically the tutorials, because I found multiple tutorials, they all say put it to channel 2, but you don't really need it on channel 2. You can leave it on channel 1 if you want, and then change it to channel 2 later. It's not necessary yet, but not to be pedantic about it, because I am just the Padawan here. So anyway, we're gonna go to edit, which will bring up this screen, and it'll show both the original textures and then the base texture, which has Hope's head, and then his eye texture. So basically you don't want overlapping models on the texture thing, because 3ds Max doesn't like that. The people that I've seen use flatten mapping, which looks awful. Watch what this does. Put it down to 0. It causes some problems. Look at that. Look at that. It's ripped up into shreds. And it causes some weird effects in Shogun 2's engine. So I would suggest not doing that, because there's all this empty space here, especially since his head is the only thing from that layer. So all the other textures for his body don't have anywhere to be. They're not here. So you can just shrink the eye down, and also have to move his teeth a little bit. But you just shrink the eye down and put it somewhere else in here, which is great. Also, it needs to be in, I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's a box right here. Here, let me turn off that. There's a box right here. That's where it needs to be. So we're just going to move it all the way down. And specifically, I'm going to use this as the reference point. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The teeth on the far left and middle, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but the teeth on the far left middle are touching the 5th line from the bottom. So I'm going to use that as my reference point for down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Control A to select all of it, and then hit this little button up here for move, and then hold Shift, click on it, and drag it down. Holding Shift causes it to not go left or right, just forward and back. So is that about... Was it that far? Let me check. You might have to fiddle with this a little bit. Control Z, Control Y, Control Z. I think it's one more little tick down. 1 pixel. Yeah, okay. Oh, I was using Photoshop hotkeys again. Doesn't work here. Control Z. Oops, that's Shift Z. Control Z. Let's see. I don't know, I think the first one was better. Alright, whatever. The only reason that I try to make it exactly the same is, look. Oh, right. The only reason I try to make it exactly the same is because I like to keep it with this. Even though this will change, this diffuse texture will change, I like to keep it close by because the normal map and the gloss map will not change. So I edit that manually. But first of all, I'm going to go ahead and take his eye texture. So go down to the bottom right where it says all IDs and select material, well, 2, I guess. Material 1 in this case, I guess. But whatever one is the one you want to make smaller. Go ahead and highlight it all. And then shrink it. I'm going to go back to all IDs so I see the whole thing. Then I go ahead and shrink it with this tool, the scale tool, and then I move it. Now I'm going to put it where the eye is on this map, simply because then it won't get affected by any of the normal mapping and stuff that would otherwise, like if it was sitting over where the gloves are, then you would see like outlines of gloves on the eye because of the normal map. So yeah, also I'm going to move his teeth. Now this actually should be kind of easy because the teeth are already kind of positioned with the rest of the mouth. So holding shift again, I'm just going to drag it over here and try to put it exactly, doesn't need to be exact, just needs to not overlap, so that's fine. Okay, now this is your new UV, so let's go ahead and save it. Oh, Final Fantasy 13-2 as Adult Hope UV. Because we're going to need that save in a bit. So anyway, yeah, so that's that, and I can exit out of this. Those moles are aggravating me. Now press 0 to bring up the render to texture, or you can go to rendering, I think. Oh yeah, there it is, render to texture. And all this is fine. I haven't changed any of that. I don't even want to bother. I don't even want to try. I don't know what any of it does. Go to use existing channel and change that to channel 2, since that's the unwrap UV we're on. See, he's still using UV 1 because we switched this one to number 2. So he's still using this other one instead of the one that we're messing with right now. So he still looks normal, but he won't look normal soon. Go to add on the output section and add diffuse map. If you add a complete map, then he has shading and stuff all over him, and that's not what we want. If you add, if you put down specular or any others, then it makes it look like those maps, and you don't want that. You want diffuse. So add elements, and all this stuff will come up, which is normal. Now we just need to make sure that it saves to the same folder as these, and we're going to rename it in a bit. It's already TGA, so that's good. These default things are fine. Target map swap, diffuse color, yes, and change it to 512 by 512, which is the typical size. Okay, so I haven't selected any of these. All the lighting and shadows off, because I had so much trouble trying to get this thing to work before. And finally I found the sweet spot. Once you, once you just do what I did, you click render. Now, this is what the texture would have looked like if you had clicked complete map. However, this is only showing you the complete map. You can actually go into the and this confused me as well when I did it, but if you look, it actually made the texture without any of that stupid shading on it. So it's fine. It's good. Everything's great. Everything's just peachy and dandy. Now I'm gonna take this regular diffuse and name it original. And name this one texture diffuse. Okay. So now we can delete that, and let's go ahead and mess with this a little bit. So this same texture that was used for a skin, I'm going to go ahead and clear the one that was in diffuse and reapply it with the new one. Go back up and then drag and drop. So now you see he's got faces in his eyes. He has little eyes in his eyes. You can do this with anything, and like if you left hair on them, like some of the models you'll see won't have backs of their heads, so you have to leave some hair on it. So you'll have to combine the texture with that as well. You'll get some really funny creations with this, because you'll have textures all over the place. Or if you have to move the face like I did with Soul Calibur characters, because their face is not just on half of the thing, it's all across the texture. It's funny. It's just funny. So now that we've done that, you want to go down to, in the unwrapUV one we have left, go down to parameters where it says load, click load, and click on the UV you saved before, and boom! We just made a combined texture. Now this is all one model and one texture that Shogun 2 can read. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Now we go down to rendering it. Or I mean, not rendering, you can render it if you want. But, ew. I'm going to actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take the specular map down to 20. See what that looks like. Much better. He looks so angry. Oh my gosh. Let me zoom in a little bit. Look at that angry, angry man. He's like something out of one of those, like, early 2000s indie game things that didn't make any sense and had horrible animation. Creepy. I love the way the green lines go along. I'm wasting time. Okay, so along the underneath of the eyes, that's kind of cool. Anyway, so we've done that. All the texturing is done now. Now we're going to go back to the modifier list and go down to skin, which is how you, what's the term? Whatever the heck it's called. Rig! That's the term. Rig it up to the skeleton. Righto. So let's add 2 of the bones, head and neck. Select them, and there they are in the little thingy, little list. Now go to Edit Envelope, and if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a display panel, which will be minimized for you by default, so just maximize it. I like to turn off faces and color all weights, and then turn off the gizmos, show no envelopes, and turn off those 2 to not show any drawings, because I like to be able to look at the model itself while I'm doing it. So if you notice, naturally off of the bat, the bottom half of his face, it just splits it basically 50-50 for what's connected to each bone. And that's bad, okay? That's not what we want. So we go down to paint weights. Now this is going to be ticked by default. Untick that. Also click on the ellipses to bring up this screen, the painter options. This will be at, like, max size will be at 200 something. Turn that down to about 100. Also turn off draw normal, because here, I'll show you. That's the normal, and it just gets annoying after a while. So I would turn that off. I would leave the ring on though, because that allows you to see how large your realm of influence is. But we're going to go ahead and paint in some more things that are connected to the headline. So you just basically left click and you can just basically paint. It's great. It's super easy. A monkey could do this, which is very apropos. So it can get kind of finicky trying to get where exactly it should stop and where exactly the neck should take over. Basically, the more red it is, the more it's connected to a certain bone, and the more blue it is, the less. So yellow's right in the middle. And I just want to make sure that, yeah, I need to not have those. If you just double tap or triple tap, just click it without moving it, it'll, there you go. So that's the front, and then the back. If you don't have it far down enough, you'll get like this weird bulge coming out in his back. So this can take a while, especially if you have some complicated models, like my totally historically accurate inclusion before. And that'll be fine. Whatever. Let's see let's go to the neck one, and there's nothing left on the head. That's fine, doesn't matter. Who cares? Nobody's gonna see it. And there we go. It's all done. Then you just stop editing envelope, save it, and here's the fun part. Control V will copy the LOD, and so this is what I'm going to tell you to do. You have to rename this to something _ LOD1, because that way Shogun 2 will read it. Then you copy it, and make sure it's a copy, not an instance. Make it LOD2, same name LOD3, and Control V, same name LOD4. And there you go, you have 4 LODs, all the same thing. So you might want to actually make some lower poly versions if this is going to be a mass-produced soldier. However, However, I tend to make these for single soldier units or small little groups, so I like to add character to them. So it's fine the way it is. I don't care if it's high poly, because they're only going to be like 1 of them on the battlefield. So now we go, and I don't save it after I make the LODs, by the way. I don't save it anymore after the LODs are made, because if I need to go back and correct something, I don't want to have to deal with the LODs. Now we export, which will, works in progress. Hope Final Fantasy 13-2. Now you'll select from this list the CS2 max exporter .cs2 file and just name it something. And boom, all these things should be left alone. NTSC, custom FPS doesn't matter. Export all, end key 100. That's animations. We don't. It doesn't matter. From original directory and export vert colors. Export. And there we go. Now we're done with 3ds Max. That's all it took. That's all 3ds Max is useful for. I'm going to go ahead and delete the... Actually, I'm going to leave it in this folder. So now we have the texture files and the adulthope.cds2. Now, go into the raw data files. So I'll show you where, again, it is. The assembly kit, Shogun 2 assembly kit, raw data, art, battle, land, models, soldiers, variant models, unit parts, Japan, and heads, since that's what we're doing. Then make a new folder. Well, I'll make them Adult Hope. Adult Hope. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy both of these in there. And then in the texture, I'm going to get rid of the original diffuse. Let's see. It should be fine with this. Now, we're going to edit these two afterwards to make him not as shiny in Tweak, which he will be in the official game too. But luckily, since the eye is where the eye was in the normal one, the normal map will not have any problems with it, so that makes it easy on us. Okay, so that's that done. Now you would go, normally you'd go up, so we're back at variant models, unit parts, Japan. Just go all the way back up to binaries. I like to have two folders open, one on the raw files and then one I can get to the binaries quickly. And then just click on Bob, brings up this screen. And then you want to select the file you just made. So expand, art, battle, land, models, soldiers, variant models, unit parts, Japan, and then heads. And then you just click on Adult Hope and select all. And then just press start. It's going to end up in the working data folder. This is where it's going to be. So I'll show you that in a second. So again, this is orange because it doesn't like the fact that, look at it says level map is texture level. It clearly can read it, but it doesn't want to have it. Also, you can check down here to make sure all the bones are in, and all the LODs are in place and all the bones are in place. So yeah. Now, again, look at this. Warning, couldn't open, done. Why? The gloss map is there, but I don't know why the level map isn't there. Anyway, we're done with this. So, okay, now it should appear. You can already go in the tweak and see it, because we're basically done. Just go into unit parts, Japan, heads, Adult Hope. There it is. There's a mesh and there's a text. See, text, and see, no level. I don't get it. Now, this is gonna look weird at the beginning, so we're gonna fix that in a second. But let's go down to binaries and then click on tweak, which will bring up this lovely, lovely piece of coding. And then we just click on whatever. Sure, cinematic agents. Ignore all. I don't know why there are always warnings, but it never does anything, so whatever. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Campaign Buddhist, get rid of you. And heads. Adult Hope. And there we go. He looks kind of weird because he looks shocked. He's shocked. He just looks kind of weird because the gloss map is wonky. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that. Look, yeah, see backface culling. No, the back faces don't have textures, so it can get kind of weird. Like helmets. Like, look at Zargaban's helmet for a second. Luckily, there isn't much here, but you can like kind of see through it, and it just. Also, there's no transparency, like I said, so all these will be there. This was pure white, so I changed the color of it to kind of match with it a little bit. So you can doctor it up how you see fit. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and fix Hope's textures. Ignore all. And also, I mean, Photoshop isn't completely necessary. You just need anything that can convert your files you have to TGA files, and then can edit the files once you're done with it if you want to make them look a little bit better. So, let's see, which one was it? Okay, there we go. Binaries, working data, variant models, unit parts, Japan, and heads. This is the one that we just made. this has our new texture folder, so go ahead and open that up. And let's see if we can make this look a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and create a clipping mask and put it to multiply at first. Actually, you know what? We don't even need to do that, really. You could just take the the bloody burn tool and just go at it. But I don't want to do that. I want to actually kind of draw it in, because there are some parts that I want darker than other parts. Okay, so that's right. I just wanted to make sure that I had my pressure sensitivity turned on. Okay, so multiply will make it so that anything that you color above it will make whatever's below it darker, and you can do that with different colors too. But we need to keep it yellow, green, and stuff for this. So I'm just going to go ahead and shade all of this in, except for the lips, because, you know, like a little bit of gloss on the lips. And also shade in the moles. Go ahead and erase a bit of that. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and shine those up a little bit with the dodge tool. Let's make his lips nice and girly. Alright, now back to this, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on the lock layer. The, what's the actual name of this? Lock transparent pixels, okay. I don't know the terminology, I just do it. It's like playing the piano. I don't know what the things are called, I just play it. I'm going to go ahead and take where the shadows would normally be, which you don't need to do this, it's just kind of fun for me. And then those are fine. So yeah, oops, I'm going to go ahead and merge down and save it as a bitmap, which 8BPP interpolated alpha. DXT5 ARGB. And there we go. Now he looks like a racial stereotype from the 30s or 20s. Let's go ahead and reopen the binaries and take a look at him and tweak again. And there we go, much better. He doesn't look as good as some of the other models, but that's just because his textures are kind of lower res. But that's okay. And see, the connection on his head actually looks pretty good. And the way the neck moves, it looks pretty good. There's some that look pretty bad. What about Alyssa? Yeah, I left her hair on. See, this is what it looks like when you leave the hair on. It doesn't look that bad. Do I have Vanille? Yeah, so with Vanille's, she looks shocked. She looks ashamed at whatever I'm doing. I left her hair in, but I tried to spike it up a little bit by getting rid of some of the polygons, and it kind of worked. The only reason I started doing that was because I needed to delete her eyebrows, but I wanted to keep her head because she doesn't have a back of her head. You can see where her ponytails were. There is no back to her head, so I had to leave her hair on in order to get her in here looking normal. I wanted to delete her eyebrows because they were way too thick, because, again, no transparency. And they were on the same layer as the hair, so in order to get to them, I had to delete this section of the hair. Then I thought, yeah, I could just keep going. I could just kind of spike it up a little bit and make it look a little bit sharper. But, I think, no, her neck is normal. Alyssa's neck is normal. It took me a while to get the, rigging on the collar right to make sure it was only connected to her neck. But it worked out pretty good. Who is it then? Nope. Also, I love Yule. Has this seam across the top of her head. I've edited her textures a little bit, but I left that in. I mean, they're gonna be wearing helmets, so what does it matter? Okay, yeah, here. You can see kind of his neck bulges out a little bit. That's because it was kind of... I didn't quite plan it right when I was making that, but I'm happy enough with the end result, so I'm not going to bother fixing it. So anyway, yeah. So there's that. There's our slack-jawed fool our bald fool, our roundy heady twat. Let's go ahead and close that out. And so that's it. We're basically done. Now, you want to make sure that it can work as a mod, which, I mean, it will. There won't be any problems with it. But just so that you know how to do it, in case you haven't done this before. Which, I don't know why you're watching me if you haven't done it before, because I am not very helpful. Because I don't know any of the terminology of this stuff. That is not the right folder. And I make stupid mistakes like that. Actually, that is the right folder. But I need variant models, unit parts, Japan, heads, adult hope. Okay, so what you want to do is go down to Pack File Manager, which should be in your data folder of Shogun 2. Go ahead and open that up. And make a new mod. Then you just add directory. Basically just copy and paste this. Oops. Okay, there we go. And you want to have it stop at the variant models part. Now this is going to put a lot of stuff in here because there are actually a lot of files in there. So you just watch that scroll bar rise. Rise up! Rise! Into the ass of elves! And all the other mods that I was doing are in here. I'm actually going to get rid of them. But first off, I need to get rid of this unit thing because you don't want this. It's useless. And then save it. It'll take a little bit to delete it. Like a second. And there we go. Name it Adult Hope Model. There's whatever. And I'm also going to go ahead and change this to a movie file so that it can automatically be read by Tweak. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete the other things I had in here apart from him because this isn't a tutorial for them. You don't belong here, monster. And then the rest of these. And there we go. Adult Hope. Everything's in there. So, now let's go ahead and delete his entry from our working data folder because we no longer need it now that we have it as an official mod in the data folder over here. Go back to binaries and go back to Tweak. Unit editor. I love the names. Tweak, Dave, Bob. Lovely. Get out of here. See Guy for... Wait, what was that? See Guy for extra details. Alright. Get rid of this poor fool. Heads and Adult Hope. If it's lowercase, that's right. There we go. He's officially working mod. He'll be working in-game too. Yeah, I'm not too happy about that slack-jawedness. I'm going to have to go ahead and fix that. But yeah, some models will have better ears, like Amy's. Also, Amy, I don't know why, but she's very shiny. Very chrome. I'll fix that at some point. But her default model didn't have eyebrows. I had to redraw eyebrows on her because eyebrows were a separate texture, and they had transparency, which doesn't work. So I couldn't just paste their texture onto this, so I just redrew them. Whatever. It's fine. Also, when I first put her in here, her face and her normal mapping didn't line up because, well, their face textures are different. So it looked like she had scars all the way across her face. It was actually pretty badass. I kind of want to keep it, but I'm not going to. Anyway, so yeah, that's basically it. That's all you do. It's not difficult at all. And I mean, that took us, I guess, a little bit longer because I was talking through the whole way through it. But I guess, wow, I've been going for like 45 minutes. Wow. But it can take you anywhere from 15 minutes, 20 minutes to 30 minutes if you're doing something really intense. But it's so easy. I'm amazed how easy this is. Of course, it's all because of other people's help that I've gotten this far. And I'll link all that stuff that I used in the description and everything. But yeah, that's basically it. Your life is complete now. You've put stuff into this game. And not only that, okay, we're done with you. Yeah. Not only that, but now you can go ahead and go to okay, Shogun 2. Go down to the mod. What? Go down to the mod workshop. You can go to this mod by this guy who keeps adding these anime models to the game, and you can say, "Ha! I've one-upped you." However, I think he actually made these models, so he kind of one-upped us. Because I've never tried 3D modeling really. I mean, I had back in the day, but I hadn't done it in so long that I kind of forgot how to. Um, I was taught how to use 3ds Max when I was very young, but I just never used it. So I mean, but now I have. Now I'm starting to use it again. So yeah, good luck.